And I think the Office of Faculty Affairs is a great place to sort of initiate those conversations and keep this going and supporting the faculty in this, because it's really such a positive thing for them.
Welcome back to the Faculty Factory podcast, friends. This is Kim Skorupski at Hopkins, and on the episode today, I'm so pleased to reintroduce you to Dr. Chris Runge. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Kim. How are you?
I'm much better now, and you might be able to tell by the tone of this conversation. Chris and I, we really kind of resonate with each other, and we've just been kind of giggling and laughing for the first 20 minutes before we even started talking about the podcast. But it also kind of reminds me of how important it is to be in touch with our friends and our colleagues, and to don't ever hesitate to reach out to people. It can just feel so good to be with people you love and respect. And even if it's on Zoom and they're flat Stanley versions and not thick 3-dimensional versions. But so those of you who are new to the Faculty Factory, Dr. Chris Runge, her episode aired back in 2019, January 29th, 2019. So that's 3 years ago. She was episode number 6. You're going to want to go back to number 6 and hear all about Dr. Runge in University of Wisconsin, Medical College of Wisconsin. But let's start by having Dr. Runge tell you her titles at Wisconsin.
Great. Thank you so much, Kim. And thank you so much for having me back. And this is just a fantastic podcast. And it's a wonderful resource for everyone. And I really appreciate all the work you and your team have done. And so my name is Chris Runge. I'm Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs at the Medical College of Wisconsin. Medical College of Wisconsin is a freestanding medical school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we are actually also a health sciences university. So we have a medical school, a school of pharmacy, and a graduate school. We're always we're adding new programs and starting new initiatives and offering more and more degrees. And so it's really growing all the time. And so the Office of Faculty Affairs in my role has actually expanded. I'm also technically Senior Associate Dean of Faculty Affairs in the School of Medicine, but then also Associate Provost for the Health Sciences University. So we're in a transition growing stage, but I do oversee all faculty and support all faculty for the whole university, for all the schools.
Wow.
School of Pharmacy, I hope I mentioned that.
I think you did. Okay. But we know, friends out here listening, Chris and I did talk about some topics, and we want to kind of catch you all up. But now I can't help but just take a little diversion, because when you were talking about your roles, Chris, could you just back up a little bit and tell everybody what is your academic expertise, your area, and kind of zip through your career trajectory, and especially tell people, because I've had this question recently, what is the difference between a dean and a provost? Take us back to your area of expertise.
I love it. So those are all really great questions. So my expertise, I'm an audiologist by training and an auditory neurophysiologist for my research program. So I am a licensed audiologist in the state of Wisconsin. I don't necessarily see patients, but I do a lot of auditory research in cochlear implants and genetics of hearing and all kinds of hearing loss, pediatric hearing loss. So I do, and I still have an active research program in the auditory space, and I'm a professor of otolaryngology. So that's sort of my academic piece. I've been at MCW for 20 years, it'll be 21 years in January. So I've been here my whole career. So I started as a postdoc, and then I joined the faculty about 1.5 years after my postdoc started. And I've loved it so much. And there've been tons of opportunities for me, both academically, but then also in the faculty affairs role. And my career trajectory for faculty affairs was my chair recommended that I serve on a committee, on the faculty career development committee, ages ago. He's like, Chris, that'll be right up your alley. You're going to love that. You'll love that committee. So it was really the mentoring that I got from my chair, my faculty leader at the time, and my service to the institution that got me into that space and getting to know people from across the whole organization. And we're all passionate about faculty development. So that's sort of where I got on this faculty piece. And then I chaired that committee, which was a great leadership opportunity. So service opens up so many doors for you to know so many people and you get a glimpse of how the institution works as well. Because sometimes I think we as faculty can be pretty frustrated with our institutions sometimes, like why is this taking so long? It doesn't seem like anyone's hearing me and things like that. But you do have a voice in their in shared governance in their committees and their colleagues that you can talk to actually get some of these things done. And participating on these committees and things does give you a voice and an ability to change things for the better. So I found that to be the case. And then I chaired that committee, and that was a great leadership opportunity that did help my promotion. And then I kind of went from there, loved it, met Kamara Ellefson from Faculty Affairs. She's the support for that committee. And through that, I couldn't stay on the committee forever. And so we talked and they created a director of faculty development role in the Office of Faculty Affairs. And I was able to apply for and get that role. So I was running workshops for the institution and just really taking that faculty development piece even further. And then from there, I'd done that for a couple of years. And then this position for the senior associate dean opened up, and I interviewed for that. And given all my experience and work in this area from faculty development perspective, took on this role. And I was clear when I interviewed for this role too. I said, well, if you want an administrator or someone who's going to, just make sure the wheels are turning and that's all I'm going to do. I said, I come from faculty development. I care about the faculty. I'm passionate about faculty, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on. So that has to be a huge part of this role. And they were like, that's great. And so I've been able to do that. And I have when I started, the 3 strategic focus areas of faculty well-being, career advancement, and leadership development. And so those are the areas we really focus on. Of course, making sure we're doing all the other administrative roles. So it's just sort of grown over time, but I just absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm. And tell people the difference quickly between deans and provosts.
Well, kind of depends on where you are a little bit, right? So that's a good question too. We could get into a big philosophical rabbit hole about titles, but we will not.
Oh.
No one wants that. But yeah, so for the dean role at Medical College of Wisconsin, my dean role was a senior associate dean within the School of Medicine, and so it was a little bit more operated that way. And we have senior associate deans of research and senior associate deans, so it's like sort of overseeing and running these administrative offices that kind of keep the wheels on the bus and keep things moving at all times. And the provost role, when we became a health sciences university, then we also had a provost to oversee, and facilitate the academic missions of all the schools. And then this sort of, instead of each school having its own faculty affairs office, then my role popped out to be associate provost, reporting to the provost, to then support all the schools for their faculty affairs work. The same happened with our associate provost of research and a couple other those roles that made sense. We didn't want to duplicate across schools, so we have one for the whole university.
Yeah. The take home message to me, the way I always describe it, is provosts are entire university, deans are at the school level.
Yes.
Simply to simplify it really, really roughly. But I like that your story amplifies the story that we tell faculty a lot with leadership opportunities. Sometimes they arrive in your life 2 ways. One is a position opening. You say, oh, so-and-so used to be the assistant dean or the associate dean or the provost or such and such. They've left or retired or moved on, and that position is now vacant. I will apply for that position. Other times, another way is that positions may arrive by you simply saying, or someone, for example, in your instance, Chris, a mentor or a sponsor or a coach, a supervisor or colleague says, you'd be really good at this committee, or you always talk about doing this and that. Why don't you just make that? Or why don't you propose that? Or why don't you build that? So it can be like top down or bottom up or whatever you want to talk about it, but I like the point is that don't necessarily be hemmed in by, well, there are no opportunities available. There are no spots available. Well, look for a need and fill that need, create, build, innovate, do something. And then you can grow that into a leadership role, maybe not even necessarily by title, but just by virtue of doing something. And then who knows what will come of that just by you using the talents and passions and interests that we have, right?
Yep. Oh, I completely agree. And what I'd like to emphasize too is it's wonderful when you're tapped and someone says, hey, I think you'd be great for this. And that certainly happens. And, we're doing our day to day and sometimes we're not thinking, but I would also like to encourage faculty, please also be thinking about what you think you could do. Maybe don't wait to be tapped. Maybe don't wait for that. Really think about it. Because sometimes, we have our leadership academy and we have faculty and staff who participate in that. And some in our orientation say, oh, I don't even know why I was selected for this. What are my, and it's like, no, that means you have something. You have these leadership skills. You were selected. So take that time to think about your career and your talents and your skills and what you bring to the table. I know, again, we get caught up in kind of our day to day, but think about what your passions are and look for those opportunities and say, maybe I could do that. And think about yourself that way. Maybe don't be surprised if someone taps you or, again, sometimes we all need a little bit of a wake up or a perspective we weren't considering. But yeah, but really think about some of those things and be looking for those opportunities, as you said, Kim. So yeah. I'd like to encourage people. You're really talented, and you can do more things than I think you even realize, right? And
exactly. And to me, it's what I found, especially and personally too, is it's oftentimes I find when people do something and they do it so easily without even thinking about it, they're like, this is like falling off a log. What's the big deal about this? And that's when I'm like, no, ding, ding, ding. It's easy for you because that's your gift. And if people would say, well, no, anybody can do this. No. That's that sometimes when you need somebody else to reflect back on you and say, no, this is such a no-brainer for you. And so you think it can't be a big deal because it's just so common sense for me, or it's so easy for me, or it just feels so natural for me. That's when we sometimes need that moment, as you're saying, to pause and for someone else to go, no, frankly, you're really underestimating that. That is a gift you have. If anybody could do it, they'd be doing it. So I like that reflection. But anyway, I've led you downstream, and I know you wanted to talk about some at least three topics. So catch us up on this little reunion tour. We're walking through where we've been, where we're going, what you're seeing from the leadership perspective and faculty members.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you so much. And as we touched on a little bit prior to this, a lot of things that have happened, have been sort of spawned from the pandemic. I don't want to make it about the pandemic. I think we're well aware of what that is and that people are talking about it for a long time. So really want to talk about all the new things that we're doing. And again, it sort of arose from that, but these are some really cool things that have happened since then. And one thing started off with our faculty. What I really love is that it's been very obvious about the shared governance that we have and the faculty voice. And I think sometimes faculty, like I said before, I think that faculty might not feel like they have a voice all the time. We have had faculty approach faculty affairs and their leaders about promotion. What do we do about promotion when we couldn't get into our labs, when we couldn't do certain things for a period of time? And sure, some people put in a lot of grants and papers and things, but what about the up or out policy, for example? And I know that's a nickname for it. It's called something more official, but we all know what that means. And so the tenure clock. Here tenure is actually separated at MCW. Tenure and promotion are separate mechanisms, so they don't go hand in hand with a promotion necessarily. So, but there is an up or out policy that we had, for example, for certain faculty. So if you haven't gotten promoted by year 6, then it's an automatic non-renewal. But and so our basic science faculty in particular were very concerned about that and came to faculty affairs, and we worked with the Office of Research and Faculty Affairs and faculty governance. And ultimately what it came to be is we noticed that and I looked at it, we actually haven't used that. Even if we could have, we don't do it. And so I'm like, why do we have it? It's just something that's frightening everybody. And I'm like, and we can't say, oh, don't worry, we don't ever do that. Because faculty are like, whatever, you have it on the books, you could, So that was really important feedback. And I looked at it, I'm like, we don't actually use it. We have other mechanisms if we want to help support faculty. And if they're not, we have other ways of helping faculty and supporting them in their careers or helping mentor them into a role that's better, maybe somewhere else. So we got rid of it. So I proposed it, went through faculty. I was like, I don't think we need this. And it's just, and it just illuminated that. So we actually don't have that in our faculty handbook anymore. We struck the language and we talked to the chairs, we talked to faculty, we talked to faculty governance and leaders, and everyone was fine with it. We're like, yeah, we really don't need this mechanism here, the way we operate at MCW.
Well, good for you. That's brave and courageous move, because I'm thinking of your faculty members going, come on into this gym and get fit, and don't mind the big stretch and torture rack. We never use that. Don't worry about it. But it's there, and I got to walk by it, and I got to see it. You could be using that on me. Why would I want to go down there? That's scary looking. So kudos to you for being brave to say, yeah, but it does scare people. Regardless of whether you use it or not, it could be used. And that is like the looming threat. So why present another threat or potential hurdle for people? We're talking academics, people who read and can be, rational and think about things. And so it's a little bit insulting to tell people, oh, don't worry about that fine print. Just look over here. So good for you.
Right. Well, thank you. Yeah. It's like a little, don't worry your pretty little head kind of thing. It's like, oh boy. Yeah. It's really offensive actually. And,
Right.
and one thing though, on the other side of it though, is some people and faculty themselves actually had concern, but if you don't have this policy, then some people could languish at the assistant professor level because there's nothing to even motivate leaders, because if they had to implement that policy, they might think, oh gosh, I really need to actually get this faculty member to speed. So what this really launched is our, the Office of Faculty Affairs has now, what we've done is we've launched a holistic review of our promotion and tenure processes. And we're looking at everything. And because it's like, why not? We made that smallish change. And, and what happened is I kind of also then reflected on everything. And we changed a lot. And faculty have changed. And really our promotion and tenure processes have been in place for literally over 100 years, right? And in academia, they're pretty ancient. And they were designed for a different sort of faculty, right, different demographic, different sorts of what we value, quote unquote, for faculty and in academics. And so what we want to do is, and we've made iterative changes over the years, but now it looks like a house that you've built. You build the house and then you add a room here, and maybe they don't even line up super well, but and then there's a room stuck over here and it looks kind of like this cobbled together thing after a while. And we're like, people are a little confused and it's like, it's kind of clunky in some places, maybe drafty. So what we want to do, the vision for this is to reimagine modern, sustainable, diverse, and equitable promotion and tenure processes to fully recognize and reward the academic contributions of MCW faculty now and in the future. So if we're going to build this, if we're going to just take a look at the whole thing, we want it also to be forward compatible. This needs to work for our faculty now because we're kind of putting some square pegs around holes right now. And we want it to then for the next 20 years or so, what do we think it's going to look like? And we have all these great initiatives around community engagement and clinical productivity and quality and so many things, right? And we're able to sort of put that in certain places, but people feel a little crammed in maybe where they don't belong. When you think about a promotion pathway, it's actually a faculty member's identity. And that's what we found. And so if a faculty member is going up from promotion in a pathway that is entitled something that doesn't feel like them, then they don't like it. And they don't feel that that's a reward. They don't feel that that's actually their identity.
Yeah, they don't feel valued. That's an interesting way. I'll just pause and underline what you're just saying. Faculty identity is associated with promotion pathway. And that's resonating with me too here at Hopkins, because within the past 2 years, we always were a single promotion track, only one way. And we recently added the clinical excellence promotion track to validate and reward and acknowledge all the hard work of our clinically excellent faculty members. And we thought, some people were doing the major eye rolling, kind of like, are you kidding me? Who cares what the title, the label is this or that, if it's a comma here or of this, or, clinical excellence professor, clinically excellent associate professor, who cares what that means? But what you just said, people do care. Faculty, our identity shows how you value me. If, you call me a child versus your stepchild, that little distinction there probably makes a difference to some people. So, I mean, that's really important that you recognize that our identity and our faculty members' identities going forward, by virtue of the nature of their business and how the reimbursement methods and research has changed. We have to move and acknowledge those changes and who they are. So that's, again, another highlighted great thing you're doing there at MCW.
Great. Thank you so much. And yeah, and one of the really fun parts is that we're very intentional too about this process involving faculty from the get-go. So even just, announcing, running it by faculty groups, even before we started it, engaging faculty in discussion sessions, and they're virtual, but, and we have, a suggestion box on our website, and being very clear and presenting to faculty governance a lot in faculty council, and being in front of the faculty and being really, really transparent and communicating about it, because the faculty should build this.
Right.
This is by, for, and with the faculty. It's a core principle of this process. And the faculty are brilliant. And like you said, they're rational, brilliant, amazing people who want that. And they don't want a rubber stamping process either. It's not like it's like, oh, the bar is going to be, there's nothing really to worry about here. It should be by the faculty, and it should bring all faculty together. And we see all the different types and the things that are going on for faculty, and what we should be rewarding, and all the great work that they do, and see them. So we've engaged the faculty leaders, and things as well in this process. We also have engaged some external reviewers that will have come look at the whole process. And we also really want to look at it from a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens as well. Because given that our current criteria, a lot of it has been in place for, again, over 100 years, are there some things in there that are systemically, inherently biased? And I want to take a look at that. And then also part of what we'll do is on the other side of this, look at that now, and then always take a look and do an annual audit of time and rank, looking at these different, and that sort of goes too with the upper out policy and the concerns about people languishing. Faculty affairs now, as part of this, we will do dashboards. Here's how long people have been in rank. Here's the average we're doing a whole analysis of all the promotion packets of the tenure packets of the last 3 years. How long, on average, how long have people been in rank? Is it different by gender? Is it different by if you're underrepresented in medicine? And we're analyzing the CVs, like number of publications, all these things to help inform this process moving forward, and provide some guideposts for faculty and leaders. And we can provide dashboards like, hey, your faculty member has been in rank for a little bit longer. They're coming up on this, 3 years. And so we're going to build some other things in the overall process to really facilitate faculty staying on track with their promotion, knowing what the criteria are, and then facilitating the leaders in mentoring their faculty and the departments, and making sure that their faculty are really, really on track with these promotion paths. So it's a big process, and it's been fantastic. And what's been fun too is I love being with faculty talking about promotion. Mm-hmm. It's getting people excited about it again. Sometimes in our workshops, the faculty might say, well, why should I get promoted? Well, who cares? It's like, well, maybe there's a little pay increase that comes with that or something, maybe not. But why should I do it? It's a lot of work. I got to put a portfolio together. Why would I do that? I don't want to put my stuff together. And it's like, it's gotten people really excited about it. And I do have to say, we actually had in these discussion sessions with faculty, we asked faculty identity questions. One is, what does it mean to you to be faculty? And the other is, why do you think it's important to be promoted? Yeah. And it was so inspirational, the responses we got about being part of an academic community, and it's a differentiator, and there's autonomy and flexibility with it. As being faculty, you help others, you're role models for learners, and pushing the field forward, and in an environment of scholarship. The things that people were saying is what it means to be faculty, and about why it's important to be promoted. It's recognition from your peers, both internally and externally, recognition of your achievements, of service, your development, and professional pride. And so there's been and about also the institution, when the institution promotes you, you feel valued, you feel seen and respected by the institution. So it's a symbiotic, it's a beautiful thing, honestly. And it's something I think we should be, talking about all the time, and putting so much energy toward. And I think the Office of Faculty Affairs is a great place to sort of initiate those conversations and keep this going, and supporting the faculty in this, because it's really such a positive thing for them.
What I love that you did was ask that question at your promotion sessions. What does it mean for you to be a faculty member? What does it mean for you to be promoted or not? Talk to us about that. And those quotes and those reflections, to me, should reassure some of the old guard who are worried about change and innovation and who are really steeped in, understandably so, tradition. And our institutions that are 100 plus, 125, 130 years old, and we're hanging on by, our fingernails, insisting that this is the way we've always done things. Things work well. And if we change too much, we will lose our identity. We will lower the bar and lower standards. Well, my gosh, what you just showed to the whole global community is that at MCW, your faculty are endorsing the same principles that that academia has always espoused and engendered. All those qualities the faculty still care about. So I always forget if it's General George Kinsheki or the late Colin Powell, who said those who fail to innovate or will risk obsolescence. So the idea that we have to change, and if you don't change, you'll risk being left aside. So we have to be, as you're doing so well, working with the faculty, because leaders come and go, but the academia is the faculty. They're going to take us into the future. How do they see this? And to me, it's so reassuring to know that they're carrying the mantle. They get it. They value the same things, just a different way of acknowledging and seeing it and enabling and allowing it and supporting it.
Yep. Yeah, it's been fun. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of coordination stuff, but Kim, it's been so much fun. And I was talking to the team about this. I'm like, we should do this about like every 5 years or so. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, pull some and do listening session. Okay, what do you think? How's it going? And keep it fresh. And I think, and as I sort of alluded to before, I also really, really want to look at things that we've always taken for granted. Like you said, they've been steeped in tradition and things like that. But again, that is also where some inequities exist, right? I think, those bars of, well, if you're invited for an international presentation and you have to go and give it, then that counts. Like that's huge for a full professor. And it's like, okay, I do get that if you're invited and things like that. But historically, certain demographics have not even been considered to be invited despite how great they are in the field and everything else. Some people, sure, but we know some people have to do, 100 times more work and even to be thought of and considered for some of these invitations. And so the other thing is some people, and maybe they are, they have some flexibility. They're the primary caregivers of children or others, aren't going to go to an international meeting. They don't have the support system necessary for their family to up and go to an international meeting. So it doesn't mean that their work is any less valued or less, and so I just think that, and in fact, I've asked some of that in some of these in these discussion sessions with faculty, and I've had some, and I'll just say some female faculty say, oh no, actually the pandemic has been great. The virtual has been great. Now I present at international meetings now because I can, because it's virtual and I don't have to travel. And so when we think about what some of those barriers are for certain people, it's like, well, yeah, then these people get promoted because they can just up and leave and take a week and go to an international meeting to give a talk.
Yeah.
But not everyone can. So should they not be promoted because they're not? And again, I think it's getting better from our national organizations to have panels that are more diverse, but they weren't. And even in my field, that was called out just about 3 years ago very publicly at a meeting about a manel. Someone stood up and said, and there are no women on this panel and there are no people who are underrepresented in medicine. And that changed. They made a big change and now that's happening, but that was only in the last 3 years. And so people in my field coming up for promotion now weren't invited to be on those panels, and it wasn't intentional. It wasn't not pointing fingers, but those are our criteria. So what's up with that? Is that actually really pointing to value and why people should be recognized for their contributions to our field? So I really want to look at that. And I really want to,
regularly. I love that institutionalize the regular checkups. How are we doing? Looking at the metrics, as you said, looking at the data, tracking this, looking at trends, not going just by anecdotally or people saying it's fine or we're fine or everybody's fine. Let's look at the data then that we should have no problem being transparent and tracking and regularly having that gut check of, yeah, it's working. Are we sure? How can we improve it? Don't mess with it if it ain't broke. Well, yeah, we're just saying that's fine. Still, I take my car to get checked. It's working, but I still want to make sure everything's, and I'm going to nip it in the bud beforehand. I'm not going to wait till something's wrong in my body until I go to the doctor. I want to make sure. So the same thing in our institutions. Let's not wait till things fall apart and we start losing faculty and we're burning faculty out and they're losing hope and really being just kind of demoralized. Let's kind of anticipate the best we can and then put in place, empower the faculty to have a voice, as you're saying, as you do at MCW with the shared governance. Yeah. Blow it wide open. Good.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a great point. And specifically call out to the data will tell us what to do. Yeah. They'll tell us what's not broken. And they'll tell, because we don't actually know, we have our thoughts and, stuff, but you know what? The data will tell us and we'll tell everybody about it. Yeah. We want to be really transparent about it. There's nothing to hide from. It is what it is. And again, this isn't about assessing blame or anything either. This is about, it just is what it is. And here's where we are now. And let's look at this and let's see where we want to go. And you're right. And we'll just keep an eye on it and just make sure we're not slipping anywhere, in some of those areas specifically.
Good. What else did you want to share with the Faculty Factory audience? We've talked about a lot here, and I feel like I like how you've talked about some realistic things you could do that are not huge lifts for the leader's perspective. Well, it sounds like, oh my gosh, who wants to revise all their governance policies and all their P&T and all that sounds like a heavy lift. You've described how you've done this. It's obviously doable. It can be a mess, but you bit off one step at a time. You just got rid of the tenure clock. That's like a little step you can make. We talked a little bit about how faculty can take advantage of opportunities and look for ways to contribute and explore passions and interests within them that they may not even be aware of, and look for opportunities to contribute more and to feel more and to be more engaged in other things of runnings of our institution. We've talked about this faculty identity concept of I love that idea of really talking to the faculty and asking them what they think about being promoted. What does that mean to them? So anything else you wanted to share with us?
Gosh, I think that's a lot. It's such a passion. I guess, I don't know. I just love this. And I love the faculty and working with the faculty on this and the excitement and that everyone has around this. And I'm excited. Again, this is also setting us up for, it's kind of a little bit of a big lift for our office right now to coordinate all the, to sort of put this process in place. But once we get this rolling, I'm excited because I'm like, we've got a 15-year plan here, at least, right? 3 more of it, or something like that. We can do this and stay on top of it. It'll keep the faculty engaged, I hope, and keep us working together. And I do want the faculty to feel valued and know that they do have a voice and it matters. Yeah. And this is for them. This isn't about me or what I want or, or like you said, leaders. It's just, this is the faculty and this is what we're here for. So yeah, I think it's just, that's what's underlying all of it. And so I just love it. And thank you for the opportunity to share that today, Kim. And it makes me excited to talk about it too. So.
Yeah, you're one of these people who it's always if anybody ever goes to the group on faculty affairs, the PDC, the Professional Development Conference, Chris is one of those people you'd see running down the hallway, and she always has that ray of sunshine. So yeah, your energy is contagious. So thank you for being on the Faculty Factory podcast. If you want to get a hold of Dr. Runge and learn more about all the great stuff happening at MCW, her email address is CHRUNGE. I'll say that again, CHRUNGE@mcw.edu. Is that right, Chris?
That is correct.
Right. Yeah. Dr. Runge, the Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs at MC Wisconsin. Great conversation as usual. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all your wisdom. Everybody in the Faculty Factory podcast, this is the kind of stuff we want to share, spread the good news, be on the podcast, get people come to this. And I'd love to interview you and have a conversation. Please don't be shy. facultyfactory.org. Thanks a lot, Chris. Take care. You've been great. I really love talking to you always.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Great to see you.
Thanks for tuning in to Faculty Factory Podcast. The mission of the Faculty Factory is to build and support a community of leaders in faculty development who share tools, resources, wisdom, and encouragement in service to our faculty members, schools, and institutions. We encourage you to go to facultyfactory.org to find out more. Get in touch with me, ask me any questions. Maybe you want to be interviewed on the podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Faculty Factory Podcast. We'll see you next time. The Faculty Factory podcast and website is sponsored by the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine Office of Faculty. For more information, visit facultyfactory.org.